Welcome back to Arcanum, where after a couple of retries, we got the dagger by buying it. Like a true trader would. I have no particular affinity towards the mayor of Blackroot. Between him and King What's His Nugget, I would choose the mayor. But also, my first interaction with him was him folding like a newspaper when I told him that his guards were dead, which was like visibly untrue. Where am I going? Hold on. I've forgotten which town I'm in and what the map looks like. He's over here. Okay. And he seems so preoccupied with this ceremonial dagger. Like, the whole thing's kind of absurd. I don't particularly like him either. So, you know what? Frankly, if he asks how I got it, I'm going to tell him it's none of his business. Or I'll just say something to scare the shit out of him, right? Just like, have you seen the color of my coat? Yours was dyed by a dyer. Mine was dyed in blood. I have retrieved your dagger. Excellent. Give it to me and I'll have the thieves arrested at once. Huh. Your guards can't even protect you from petty thieves. Your point is well taken, but what would you have me do? Do you always act the ineffectual dunderhead, fool?
Hey, I don't understand why we're
Oh.
taking such a decent time. I won't do this for much longer.
Wow. That's an aggressive reaction that I didn't quite expect. I feel like this game needs a non-lethal option. You know, much like D&D, where rather than immediately devolving to murder, that you could knock people out, right? I mean, that's a staple of D&D and other similar tabletop games, is like if you some version of non-lethal, so that if you need to deal with somebody but don't really want to be on the hook for murder, or if you need them to survive so somebody else can talk to them, you can do that. And so instead, every time we piss someone off, it devolves to murder immediately, which just seems poorly executed. Did they actually get arrested? Is he actually gonna try and come murder me? I guess. Let's see. I mean, it's such a strange reaction. Why his reaction to being stolen from is better send an outsider to deal with it. I mean, I guess he did say he gave the whole spiel about how they won't arrest without cause, but like, I don't know. The whole thing's weird. I guess I could get him to realign himself with Cumbria, but that doesn't serve my interests. Doesn't serve Cumbrian interests either. That just means this place goes from being a decent town to back to the shitty Stone Ages. Let's make this easy just in case I fuck it up again. Why did... What? That option was not available. During my last load. What the fuck is going on? I'm not crazy, right? That wasn't there? Wow, that is so fucking limp. And then he gives me the chest of gold. Fucking why? That wasn't even our agreement, was it? I'm gonna have to go back and check. I don't think that was, like, even discussed. What the and then if it still gives me that option to threaten him with... What? Not to mention, this town is effectively occupied territory. You can't just kick the Tarantians out. They're gonna have shit to say about it. For fuck's sake, they built a train line here. This is gonna blow up. You can't just... even if you are an ineffectual fool, like... You literally can't do this. You can't go back to Cumbria. It's not possible. Unless I murder everyone in town for you. And even then, you better hope your ass that... God. Fuck. You better hope that the knights are coming to protect this place, because... The Tarantians are going to be pissed that everyone's dead and they're no longer getting their imports-exports from here. Oh, this is so wrong. Okay. Politics are important. On a somewhat topical or recently relevant, I can't even think of what the phrase I'm looking for is. The quote that George R. R. Martin has been quoted. George R. R. Martin has been quoted frequently. One particular quote from some years ago, when he was being interviewed with Rolling Stone, and talking about J.R.R. Tolkien. Please excuse me for a moment while I have this is the podcast segment of the video. If you're new to the channel, you may not be used to this. George R. R. Martin talking about Tolkien and a whole lot of different topics, but he has a particular quote about what was Aragorn's tax policy. And this is the important shit. Like, I'm not even a particularly great fan of George R. R. Martin. I think he writes pretty good books, but I'm not the biggest fan. I made it through 2.5 of the Song of Ice and Fire. Anyway, I digress. This is important, and Martin is extremely good at least being aware of the types of things that people typically forget about world building and about building a believable reality. And so, like, the things that the everyday people and, like, entire cities and nations think about these large scale things like taxes, like economics, like trade, often get completely ignored in all kinds of settings, fantasy and otherwise. But when, like, I'd say a good solid 80% of the content of the game that I've experienced thus far has either been directly or indirectly related to the political interplay between the various factions in Arcanum, right? Like, we've been talking about the wars they've had, the dichotomy between magic and science, or magic and technology, the racial play, the let's not say race play, that's a whole other thing. The interplay between the different races of Arcanum and how they treat one another, and what their alignments may be relative to magic and science, or different religions, or whatever else. And then the larger, like, trade and the collapse of cities and kingdoms, and the, like, these old dwarven cities disappearing, and, you know, magic being science running rampant, you know, out of control when perhaps it should be more moderate. Like, all these things. These are all important things for world building, but when you focus on them, that's when you start having to be very careful about not fucking it up, either by omission or by what's the word I'm looking for? Not being hypocritical, but, like, reversing the mentality, basically. Somebody will correct me with the word I'm looking for. Like, and this goes for any piece of writing. Whenever you write something, there are parameters in which you write your world, right? You can tell a great story. You can, you know, in fact, some of the greatest stories have very little to do with the world they are in, and they have to, just because they omit those things, they are not necessarily important. They give you the necessary framework and nothing more, right? But when you have a story, a world that's being explored in the context of political and economic and racial interplays, you have to be, like, any time you tell a story and focus on something, you have to do that thing all the way. You can't half-ass it. Like, I'm just rambling at this point to myself in my apartment, but you can't half-ass it and then say, well, the parts we did were good. No. You open that door. Now you have to fill it. You have to fill that room with all the things. You don't... This analogy is really fucked up. You can't build a new wing on your house and then just not put any shit in it and pretend that you built an expansion. Like, technically you're right, it's there, but there's nothing in it. So you fucked up. You literally made it worse. What are you doing? I have no... I should just cut this and make it a Rants and Raves episode, but I won't, because it belongs here. It's specific. I don't know. These things bother me. It's something that's... I understand that it's a high-level thing that if you're not... Like, especially in the games industry, where there's so much writing that's done by committee, and different quests may be written by totally different people. You know, I can understand how these things fall through the cracks. But that doesn't excuse it. It's still not good. I have to admit, though, I am having some amount of fun just kind of tearing into it for not being done super well. I do have an affection for this game, but I'm not really sure where it comes from beyond, like, almost, like, oh, isn't that cute that they tried kind of mentality. Alright, I've rambled on too long. Let's just finish this the way I intended. I have retrieved your dagger. Here it is. Allow me to compensate you for your troubles. Payment of the taxes would be compensation. So there is a... What? But I haven't even brought that up to him. I thought this was just going to be a... I give him the dagger, he gives me the money, and we're done. But no. I'm afraid I cannot oblige you. The taxes are going to Tarrant, but here is 100 coins for you. Jesus Christ. This is not how... What a weird branching tree here. Dialogue tree. If I just go without it, do I fail the Cumbria quest? Without your guards, you wouldn't deny me the taxes. It may well be, but you've not the ability needed to back up your threats, so we will never know, shall we? Now take your vile presence away from me. I suppose you can rest easy then. Good day. Like to receive apprentice training. Persuasion. Have you reconsidered giving me the taxes, perhaps? I can just kill him for it. That's interesting. Okay, this episode's gonna run long because I'm gonna try something. No, that's not gonna work. Okay. Next time on Arcanum, we're gonna try and figure out how to deal with the mayor in a way that ends the way I want it to.